Greetings, kids. Bishop Vedder here. I'm still your bishop. I got some books here. I'm going to read you a couple of these, huh? This one, Gus Finds God. Gus Finds God. And Gus is, I'll give you a little insider, it's St. Augustine. So it's a kid's book about St. Augustine, who lived in the 4th century, so a long time ago. But let's see how it goes, huh? Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Gus. One day, Gus and his mom were talking. "Who is God?" Gus asked. "Well," his mom replied, "God is our Father who made us. He is all-powerful, all-knowing, and he loves us very much." "Wow," Gus said. He was impressed. "When can I see him?" "Oh, no," his mother laughed. "God can't be seen with the eyes. He can't be heard with the ears. He can't be smelled with the nose. He can't be tasted with the mouth. And he can't be touched with the hands." "Invisible," Gus repeated. This made Gus very confused, so he decided to look for God himself. Gus went outside and looked at the land around him. "Mr. Land," he asked, "are you God?" "No," moaned the land in a dry voice, "I am not." So Gus turned to all the things that had lived on the land, all the tame animals and all the wild beasts, all the creeping things that crawl upon the earth. "Are you God?" "No," they all replied, making the same confession. "We are not God." Next, Gus went to the deep sea and all the wondrous creatures in it. "Mrs. Sea," he asked, "are you God?" "No," splashed the deep sea and all the creatures in it. "We are not your God. Seek higher." So Gus looked up and said to the winds that blew, "Mr. Wind," he cried, "are you God?" "No," howled the wind, and all the creatures of the air with it. "We are not God." Then Gus went even higher and looked way up to the sun, the moon, and the stars. "Excuse me," he called out to the fiery lights in the sky. "Are any of you God?" But they all said back to him, "Neither are we God whom you seek." And Gus said to all the things he could see, "Tell me something about God, since you are not he. Tell me something about him." And they all cried out in one great voice, "He made us." Gus went back inside and was sad that he had not found God and that he was still very confused. So Gus began to think some more. If God is not any of the things around me, he said to himself, maybe he is something in me. Gus looked and looked, but he could not find God inside him. "Well," Gus asked, "if God is not in my body, where could he be?" Gus thought very hard, and then he remembered something that his mom had said once. She had told him that there was more to him than just his body, that he had a soul which would live forever and ever. My soul must be very special, Gus thought. Don't all those animals I question have the same senses I do? Can't an eagle see? Can't a hound dog smell? Can't an elephant hear? In fact, they can do these things better than I can. But there's something I can do that they can't. I can question the things I see, smell, and hear. So Gus turned to the power of his soul, and there he found his memory. Oh, it was so amazing. Gus saw that his memory was like a vast palace with many, many rooms, and each of these rooms contained many, many memories. Gus realized that he could remember all kinds of things. He could remember what his home looked like, and he could remember what a guitar sounded like, and he could remember what flowers smelled like, and he could remember what a chocolate chip cookie tasted like, and he could remember what his soggy dog felt like. His shaggy dog. Sorry, kids. He could remember what his shaggy dog felt like. Sometimes when Gus tried to remember something, a great crowd of memories would jump back out and ask, "May it not be what that you want?" Gus would have to brush them away with the hand of his mind and say no. At other times, the memory would come up with a nice, proper order. That is what happened anytime. This is what happened anytime Gus said something by heart. "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." Sometimes it's easy to remember something. At other times, it was very hard to remember something. And Gus wanted to go farther into his soul, and so he came to a second kind of memory. This other kind of memory was not like the physical things Gus could remember. It was a memory of things that are always true. Gus could remember, for example, that 1 + 1 is 2, and he knew that a whole circle is bigger than a part of a circle. These are things that are always true and always will be true. Gus wanted to know how these truths had ever gotten into his memory in the first place. So he ran his mind over all the doorways of his body, his senses, but he could not find any door by which they could have come in. Gus's eyes said to him, "If these truths had any color, we reported them to you." And his ears said to him, "And if they made a noise, we gave you notice of them." And his nose said to him, "And if they had any smell, they went in through us." And his taste bud said to him, "Unless there was any taste in them, there's no use in our being asked." And his sense of touch said to him, "And if a thing is not a body, is not a handle on it, if it did not handle on it, I did not report it to you." So Gus realized that truths are already in his memory, even though he may have needed a teacher to help him find that there, even though he needed words or pictures to help him remember what they were. But Gus wanted to go even farther into his soul. So he came to a third kind of memory, the memory of all his feelings. Gus could remember the first time last summer when he was happy. And he could remember the time last spring when he was sad. And he could remember the time last fall when he was afraid. And he could remember the time last winter when he really wanted to have a new toy. In fact, Gus could remember all these things, old feelings, even when he wasn't feeling them now. Gus could remember being happy when he wasn't happy now. And he could remember being sad when he wasn't sad now. Gus could even picture these feelings, even though it was hard to picture something like a feeling. Gus saw that his memory was vast and wonderful. Inside were all the things he could remember, seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting and touching. Inside it were all the things he knew to be true, and inside it were all the feelings of joy, sorrow, fear, and desire that he could remember feeling. What a great thing memory is. How many nooks and crannies it has, filled with so many things. Without our memory, where would we be? But is God in Gus's memory? God is not something he can remember like his mom. God is not something he can remember like an addition table. God is not something he can remember like his happy or sad times. But God has to be somewhere in Gus's memory. How else could Gus recognize God's name every time he heard it? Suddenly the answer came to him. God, Gus realized, was not only in his memory in a very special way, but God was above his memory. God is like the very bright light that lets us see our memories. God is higher than our souls. He is higher than anything that we can see or hear or smell or taste or touch. But this doesn't mean that God is far away from us. Oh no, God is so close to us that he is even closer to us than we are to ourselves. It's a long book, huh? Mom was right, Gus said. God isn't someone I can see, but that doesn't mean he's not real. Not at all. He's more real than I am, and he makes everything else real. And so Gus ran to his mom and told her all the things he had learned about God. Gus's mom was excited that they both knelt down to thank and praise God. Gus's mom then led him in a prayer she had read and prayed many times. Late have I loved thee, O beauty ever ancient, ever new. Late have I loved thee, for behold, you called to me and broke upon my deafness. You sent forth your beams and shone upon me, and chased away my blindness. You breathed your fragrance on me, and I drew breath, and now pant for you. I tasted you, and now hunger and thirst for you. I touched you, and I have burned for your peace. Gus went inside and went on with his day, thinking how great God is. And Gus was filled with joy. The end. So there, that's St. Augustine. It's a good story. Just talking about how we find God, that God is real and that he's above us. and he loves us. Kids, know my prayers. Pray for me, okay? And say your prayers. Bye now.